Welcome to Cooking Classic. I'm Jane Adonizio here in the kitchen with Chef Kim McLendon.
Hello.
Hi, Chef. We are here at the Paglianiti Culinary Institute at Luzerne County Community College. Now, Chef Kim, you wear a lot of hats. You are currently an instructor here, but you have been a student. You're a chef in the community. You're also a wife and a busy mom. So I know you have a lot of recipes in your toolbox, some for those busy weeknights at home. But since this is Cooking Classic, you are truly sticking to the classic today.
Yes, I am, Jane. Well, tonight we have something amazing that we're going to be making. It's one of our favorites. And I always say this is a recipe that you would make for a special occasion, a birthday, holiday, anniversary, and it is a classic dish. It's actually beef Wellington. So we're going to talk a little bit about making that beef Wellington and how sometimes it can be a little intimidating, but once you see that process, everyone's going to be surprised.
Well, I'm so glad you're making this for us today,
you.
because it is something that I don't know if I would venture down that path,
Okay.
but I am very excited to watch you make it, and we're going to talk
Thanks,
about
Jane.
all the ingredients, and we're going to start diving into it when
Sounds great.
Cooking Classic continues in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Holly, a student from Luzerne County Community College with your culinary tip of the day. I'm going to show you how to dice an onion. First, we cut the onion in half. Next, we peel the outer layer. Lay it on its side and make 4 cuts, vertical cuts. This would be for a larger dice. Next, I'm going to cut parallel with the cutting board. 5 or 6 or more cuts straight down. And let the end fall away. Always remember to use a sharp knife as it makes your work easier. This is your culinary tip of the day. Bon appetit!
Welcome back to Cooking Classic. We're in the kitchen with Chef Kim, and we are making beef Wellington. I was joking before, and I called it Duke Wellington.
Yeah, that's okay.
That's where it came from, right?
Exactly. That's right. That's right. Exactly. That's
All right,
exactly
we'll get to that later. But tell us about the ingredients.
Okay, well, what we're going to do, Jane, is we're actually going to start with our beef tenderloin, our filet mignon. And what I like to do is just season it a little bit. I just have a little bit of salt and actually a little bit of pepper. And I'm just going to add a little bit of this salt and pepper on both sides of our filet. Now,
And just so that we have all the ingredients ready and at hand, just talk about the other ingredients we have
sure,
at home.
absolutely. Well, we just have our filet, a little bit of the olive oil. Then after we sear this guy on all 4 sides, what we're going to do is we're actually going to be making a mushroom duxelle. Okay. So we've got just a red onion, and that's a half of a red onion that's finely diced. We have about 1 pound of button mushrooms, again, finely minced. We've got some fresh rosemary, a little bit of butter, and just a little bit of cognac to go in and kind of deglaze our pan a little bit.
Okay, and that's going to sear up on both sides,
Exactly. We're going to sear this up on all sides here.
Okay.
Now, the key is anytime that you are making this filet, anytime you're searing this filet for the beef Wellington, it's really important that we add just a little bit of extra fat in here, a little bit of extra flavor, because the tenderloin comes from one of the most actually leanest parts of the cow. So we want to put a little extra fat on here, add a little bit of flavor in here. So again, all I do is just kind of sear that, and I won't pull this up just until I know there's a little term that we like to use in the kitchen. A lot of cooking terms. What's happening here is called actually a Maillard reaction. This Maillard reaction is where the amino acids and the sugar start to reduce in the protein, which is going to give us that nice caramelized color on all sides of our beef this evening. So that's what we're waiting
never
to
heard of
happen.
that.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Looks wonderful. See how easy that comes right off the pan? So now all we're going to do is just kind of flip this guy over. See that nice caramelized brown color? That's exactly what we're looking for here.
Right.
So then once we take this out of the pan, what we're going to do is we're going to allow this kind of meat to just kind of rest a little bit. Then we're going to grab our puff pastry that we have over here. We're going to roll this out and we're going to wrap this delicious meat into this puff pastry.
Okay, now do you have to turn it on the sides too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm going to turn this on all sides here. I'm going to make sure that I'm going to be browning all sides. Sometimes this can get a little bit messy, so you want to be really cautious, but that's okay. As I always say it, well, when you're messy in the kitchen, that means you're a good cook. Right?
And you have to have that pan nice and hot,
That's right.
right?
That is the key, making sure that this pan is nice and hot. Looks great, looks perfect. So now, all I'm going to do is just take this filet right off of here, and we're going to allow that to rest. I'm just going to put our beef right over here. Now, while that's resting, we see that our pan is nice and hot. What we're going to do is I'm just going to add in my red onion. Okay, so I'm just
Right
going
back into the pan. So you
right
still
into
have
the
like
pan.
the drippings in
And
there
then
from the meat.
You got it,
Okay.
exactly. So we're going to use those drippings from that meat to really help add a lot of flavor into our onions and also into our mushrooms. Now, mushrooms contain a lot of moisture. They're actually 80% moisture. So what we're really kind of doing is we're relying on that high heat to really kind of get all the mushroom out of our mushrooms, but we're actually going to infuse a little bit of flavor into this as well from that fat in our beef tonight.
Is that just mushrooms?
This is just button mushrooms. Now, you notice how small those mushrooms are? They're
I
finely
do.
chopped, exactly. By chopping them nice and fine, that's going to help us to really get a lot of that moisture out of the mushrooms. Same thing with our onion. The finer the chop of the onion, the more flavor that we're going to be retrieving from that onion. So that's why they're both really kind of chopped nice and fine. So that looks good. So I'm just going to kind of let that sit there for a minute. I'll add a little bit of salt and pepper in here just to add a little bit of flavor. And then I'm just going to put a little bit of that cognac in there, just enough to deglaze the bottom of our pan and bring up all of that wonderful flavor off the bottom there.
Now, Chef,
Yeah.
did you cut those by hand or did you use a food processor? Because you must have some mad knife skills.
I cut them by hand. I'm lying out loud. Actually, no, what I did was I just put them into my food processor.
Sure,
And
okay.
sometimes in the kitchen, I mean, if you wanted to slice them by hand, you absolutely can. I usually slice my own mushrooms by hand, but in this particular recipe, this is where you really want to kind of use that food processor to get those mushrooms nice and tiny. And also, what we're going to be doing with this mushroom dexel is we're going to be putting this on the top of that fillet.
Oh,
So we
okay.
want it to be more of a pasty consistency.
Sure.
So, looks good. Perfect. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a bay leaf in here. Just a little bit, one bay leaf, just for some flavor, and a little bit of thyme in here just to add a little bit of flavor into this dexel. I love to use a lot of fresh herbs and stuff, and I love to cook with thyme. So we're going to put a little bit of that thyme in there.
And you
Looks
just strip
perfect.
it off.
Just
Okay.
strip it right off of the stem. Looks good. And see that nice color on the bottom of our pan? That's actually called fond, and we're going to be bringing all that fond off the bottom of our pan there. So, looks good. I'll make sure that we get all of that moisture out of there, and don't worry about that bay leaf. We'll go in at the end of this cooking process and pull that out there. But that bay leaf is going to help to give us some really good flavor in this dexel. Now, if you wanted to add maybe some spinach in here, you can add some spinach in here. It's to your liking, but you always want to make sure that you're going to start the base of this dexel with the red onion, a little bit of, a little bit of that flavor, some of that olive oil on the bottom, a little bit of that residual fat, and then of course a little bit of that cognac on the bottom. Okay, so now I'm just going to take a little bit of that cognac, just about an ounce, right in there. We don't need a lot of it, just a little bit, again, just to bring that flavor right off the bottom of our pan. Looks good.
And then you turn the pan,
Then you turn the heat right off, and we're going to allow this mixture just to kind of cool a little bit. Okay. What we could do is we can, just kind of pop that in the refrigerator, put that into a small bowl, pop it into the refrigerator if you wanted to really kind of quickly cool that. But again, when we start to roll out our puff pastry, kind of get everything together, that's going to give us enough time for this mixture to cool.
Okay.
So, now, Jane, have you ever worked with puff pastry before?
I have.
Isn't it fun?
I have. I've done like a brie wrapped in pastry and a couple of other things, but I'm interested to see how this is going to unfold, so to speak.
Okay, well, anytime that I'm working with puff pastry, you always want to make sure that you always have a small rolling pin and that you also have a little bit of flour, because we don't want this puff pastry sticking to our countertop here. You want to make sure that your countertop is nice and clean. And then I'm just going to take a little bit of flour just kind of dust my surface just a little bit here.
Now, is the puff pastry cool? Has it been?
Yes,
Okay.
it's very, very important that when you are working with puff pastry that it is nice and cool.
Okay.
Because what happens is when, to talk a little bit about the fats in puff pastry, what this really is dough upon layers upon layers upon layers
That's what
of
makes it
butter.
so good.
That's right, that's for sure. So you want to make sure that this puff pastry is always going to be nice and cool when you're working with it, because again, if it's too warm, what's going to happen is it's going to fall apart and be almost impossible to work with.
Okay.
So, and I'm just going to put my filet right here onto my countertop. Okay, just like that. I'm just going to put this right over the top here. And I want to make sure, the reason why I'm putting that over the top, I want to make sure that my puff pastry is the right size. Okay, and it's the right size. We know it's going to thoroughly cover our filet. And then I'm just going to kind of tuck this around just like this. So I'll roll this over, and I'm going to take a little bit of my egg wash here. And all I have is just one, thank you, just one egg with just a teaspoon of plain water. Just kind of whisk that together. So now I'm just going to kind of put all of that together, just like that. Okay, looks good. So now
Just
I'm
make
just
it like a sticky blanket
you
there.
got it. You got it exactly. And then what I'll do is just kind of turn that guy over, make sure all those sides are seared, and now I'm going to take a little bit of that duxelle, and I'm just going to put this right on the top. Now,
Oh my gosh, that's
if
going to be
you want-
wonderful.
Thank you. Now, if you wanted to kind of, maybe perhaps add a little bit more fat in here, a little bit more flavor, what you can do is you can take a little bit of prosciutto and you can actually wrap that prosciutto around that filet. So if you wanted to, again, to your liking if you wanted to. So that looks good. So now I'm just going to kind of fold this guy over on the other side, take a little bit of that duxelle, and watch this. Push this right on the top there. We're going to put some extra mushrooms on here because I love mushrooms. You like mushrooms?
I love mushrooms.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love
All
especially with
kinds.
steak, right?
Yeah.
Now watch this. I'm just going to kind of take this, both sides, fold it over just like this.
Okay.
And I'm just going to wipe my hand because I don't want my hand sticking to that puff pastry. Fold the top of that over. I'm going to do just a little bit more of that egg wash. And then I'm just going to kind of tuck my both sides in. Now, see how these sides are kind of long?
Sure.
What I usually do is I just kind of take my chef's knife, and then I'm just going to kind of cut these guys here.
Okay.
Put them over on this side, and then I'm just going to tuck them in like a little present there on both sides. And then just a little bit of that egg wash. And then watch this. I'll just tuck these guys in.
So that
Just
there's
like
no
this. You got it.
exposed.
You
okay.
want to make sure that there's no exposed sections. And what I usually do, again, is I just kind of tuck them under just like this. Again, just to make sure that we don't have any of that beef exposed, okay?
Right.
We want to make sure that it's fully encapsulated with that delicious puff pastry. And then what I have is I just have just a small little hot plate here. And I'm just going to take this guy and I'm just going to put him right onto my plate. And then I'm going to take a little bit of that egg wash, and I want to thoroughly, really kind of coat the outside of this delicious beef Wellington. And then making sure, and also the egg wash helps to kind of give us that nice crispy outer texture, but it's also going to help kind of keep the shape of whatever form that we put on the outside of this puff pastry.
Right, and
Yeah.
have a nice appealing brownness to it. Or,
Exactly,
Yeah, right.
that wonderful color. Okay. So now what we could do is we can actually take our chef's knife, we can take the back of our chef's knife, we can do some maybe different types of designs on there. But what I like to do is I'm just going to take the back of my chef's knife just like this, and I'm just going to do just a small little indentation right through the center there. And then I'm going to take my kitchen shears, watch this, and all I'm going to do is just do
Oh, like a little pie.
yeah, just like a little pie on both sides again. I just want to do 4 equal snips.
Is
just
it
like that.
important that it's vented like that?
It is important that
Okay.
it's vented because again, as this begins to cook, that steam from from the meat, the fat, and there's also going to be a little bit of the moisture in the mushrooms. As that comes up, what happens is if we don't kind of vent that, it's going to make our puff pastry kind of pop all over. So you
Okay.
don't want to do that. It's really, really important. And then I'm going to just kind of show you something really neat. We do a lot of cooking in our house with our kiddos, and when we do beef Wellington in our house, we always kind of allow the kiddos to kind of design something to go on the top. So I'm just going to kind of share something really fun. I'm going to make a rose. just for the top of this
Oh, wow.
Wellington. And all I'm going to do, it's so easy to make. All I'm going to do is just take this puff pastry. Watch this, Jane. This is so fun. And I'm just going to kind of roll this just a little bit.
Oh, that's adorable.
Thank you. And then I'm going to pinch it with my fingers. And then I'm going to take my kitchen shears and do 4 little snips with my kitchen shears. Thank you. And then I'm going to snip the bottom. And then I'll do a little bit of egg wash on top of this. Make it look nice and pretty. And then a little bit of egg wash on the bottom.
Just stick it on there.
And then I'm just going to kind of stick it in the center. And then we're going to
that's
pop
adorable.
this. Thank you so much.
So
and
cute.
then we're going to pop this in the oven between 375 to 400 degrees. Now, the reason why I say between 375 to 400 degrees, if you have a conventional oven, you're going to want to set your conventional oven at 400 degrees. If you have a convection oven, there's always going to be a difference in temperature. You want to set your convectional oven at 375 degrees. It's always a 25-degree difference.
Okay,
so,
great.
So we're going to pop this in the oven. We're going to allow this to bake in our oven for about 17 minutes. Now, right now, our filet was probably at a medium rare. So what we want this to be is a nice medium. So we were really kind of gearing to the temperature of around 135 degrees. So we're going to pop this in the oven again at 375 degrees. Let it sit in there for 17 minutes. We'll come back and take a look at
All right.
it.
Sounds great. We'll work on some sides. Cooking Classic. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Hi, my name is Amber, a student here at Luzerne County Community College with your culinary tip of the day. Today we are blanching, and we are blanching green beans. So first we're going to take our green beans and place them into boiling water. These are going to go for about a minute or so. And a tip on blanching is that when you blanch something, it helps keep their bright, beautiful color and also keeps them nice and crisp. So when they're in the water for about a minute, take them out. It's a very quick process. The water helps shock and keep their nice color. And then you're done. And when you want to serve them, saute them with a little butter and your favorite herbs, and you're ready to go. I hope this tip helped you out, and that's your culinary tip of the day.
Are you looking for a college that's right for you? Luzerne County Community College has more than 100 majors to choose from, convenient class times, and many online courses. Transfer your degree and continue your education at a 4-year college. Work with modern equipment found in the professional world, all at the area's lowest tuition. Make it happen at Luzerne County Community College.
Welcome back to Cooking Classic. We're here with Chef Kim. She is making beef Wellington, and now we're going to talk about a little sauce and some sides.
You got it. Well, Jane, I do want to talk a little bit about a port reduction that we're making. It's almost like a demi-glace what we're making to go along with our delicious beef Wellington. It's so simple to make, and all it is I just take a little bit of veal stock. You can use veal stock or you can use beef stock. Either one of them works well. And then to that stock, I add just again another bay leaf. I'll add some fresh thyme. I'll allow that to reduce by half, and then once that reduces by half, I'll go in and actually add in a cup of just regular port wine, and then as that begins to thicken, that's going to then become our sauce to put on top of our beef Wellington.
Delicious.
So we'll let that sit over there for a little bit, and while that's sitting there, I do want to talk a little bit about our sides. So I kind of went ahead and made some roasted red potatoes. We'll be pulling them out in a little bit. So all I did was I just kind of really pre-cooked those potatoes, just roasted them with a little bit of olive oil, some butter, some fresh rosemary, a little bit of salt, and a little bit of pepper.
Okay.
So we're gonna go in, we're going to just kind of re-warm our potatoes up. But what I really want to work on is our green beans. So I've got some fresh French green beans, and we love to saute these green beans, especially, you know, any time of the year, whether I always say whether it's summer, spring, winter, or fall.
Yeah, they're
green beans
usually available all year.
They are. They are one of those vegetables that are really readily available any time of the year. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start with a little bit of olive oil on the bottom of my saute pan. How much? Just enough to coat the bottom of my pan. Okay. So then I'm going to add in just a little bit of some seasonings here. Now, I'm going to put in some slivered almonds. I'm first going to put my slivered almonds in here because I want to kind of roast them just a little bit to bring out the flavor. Okay. So this is kind of a little trick that we have in the kitchen. So I'm going to do just a little bit of these slivered almonds, and also too, by roasting them helps to kind of soften them, which is a little bit easier on the palate too.
Right. So you're not biting into something hard.
Exactly. You got it. Exactly. So I'm going to do a little bit of salt in here, and then just a little bit of pepper. And then I'm just going to add my fresh French green beans. Now, all I did was I just lightly blanched them. I just partially cooked them, submerged them into a water bath. Again, just lightly blanch them till they're partially cooked. I'm going to just kind of wait until I can really kind of get my oil kind of nice and hot here, and I start to kind of toast my almonds a little bit. I don't want to toast them where I'm changing the color of those almonds, just enough until you can kind of smell them. Then I'm going to add in my green beans. So how does it look so far? Does it look good?
It looks great.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, that looks good. We can smell those almonds. So now what I'm going to do is just kind of go in and add my green beans in here. I want to make sure that I thoroughly coat my green beans with a little bit of that olive oil. Ginger, you might do that? Thank you. Looks good. So I just want to coat them a little bit, and then I'm going to go in and add a little bit of butter in here. Because I always say everything tastes better with a little bit of butter.
That's right.
Looks good.
You can't go wrong.
That's right. That's for sure. So now I'm just going to take just a tablespoon of butter. I'll take a mammoth tablespoon of butter here. Just going to put that in there. And then just kind of get this all in there. Looks perfect. And then once we kind of see everything kind of come together, you're going to see those delicious almonds, those slivered almonds are just going to have a beautiful color to them. Looks perfect. Now, the key here is really kind of giving these guys a little bit of flavor. So do you remember how we went in when we were making our duck salad? We were doing the duck salad to go along with our Wellington. We took a little bit of that cognac. We kind of deglazed the bottom of our pan. What I'm doing is I'm actually taking some fresh lemon here, and I'm going to add a little bit of lemon in here with our green beans. What this lemon's going to do, that little bit of the acid in our lemon is going to help keep that nice green color of our green beans. But it's also going to give us this wonderful flavor pop in there. This looks great. You can just kind of smell it. Looks wonderful.
Yeah, it does. They're
Thank you.
still so bright. They don't.
Thank you. Exactly. You don't want to overcook them. And then I'm just going to take a little bit of garlic salt, just a little bit over the top. And if you wanted to put some fresh garlic in here, you can. I have some picky eaters at home. We don't like lots of big chunks of garlic in our green beans. So just that little bit of the garlic salt or garlic powder in there is really going to give them some great flavor.
Great.
Looks perfect. So now I'll just do a little extra salt here and a little extra pepper. And you can see the almonds kind of changing color now. That nice little caramelization on the outside of our almonds looks perfect. Looks
Great.
And then what we'll do is then we'll just kind of, take our potatoes, we can add them into the oven, warm up our potatoes, and then we'll check on our beef Wellington.
Okay, so yeah, we've been busy while the beef Wellington's been in there.
A little bit.
All right,
But
we'll take a look at it in a minute. Cooking
you.
Classic continues. Stay with us. Welcome back to Cooking Classic. When you talk about classics, beef Wellington is definitely one of them. Chef Kim, you have done a magnificent job. Now this has been in the oven for about 17 minutes.
Yes.
And you're just about ready to plate it.
You got it, yes. It's in the oven for about 17 minutes. What we did was kind of midway through, we went in, put our potatoes onto our hot plate just to warm them up a little bit. We are right ready to plate this entire dish. Are you excited?
I am excited, especially since it dates back to like the days of Napoleon and all that. And if you look it up, you can see how decadent it is. And
that's right.
Oh, the
Absolutely.
reduction sauce and all. So let's go.
You.
I'm
Okay,
ready.
all right, absolutely. And if we were going to present this as a French dish, what we would say this is filet de beef en croûte, which is beef Wellington, which actually translates to beef wrapped in delicious pastry dough.
Oh,
so yeah,
great.
a little bit of French today.
And a little lesson too, always.
Okay. So let's grab this delicious beef Wellington off of our hot plate there. How does that
It
look?
looks wonderful.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you. And then I'm just going to grab just a few potatoes, not a lot, just a few of these guys, just to kind of add some extra flavor on this dish here. And then we'll kind of put them right here.
I love what you did with it, the rows on top and everything.
Thank you so
So
much.
cute.
Thanks, Jean. Thank you so much. Let's take that guy right there. And then I'm just going to grab a little bit of our green beans here. So we'll do just a little bit of green beans just to give us a little bit of color here. I'm just going to kind of take our green beans and put them on the side, just like this. These guys right here, I'll put them right there. Looks good. And I just want to add a little bit of garnish. And what I like to do is I actually like to take a little bit of that fresh thyme that we use it as the garnish, and I'm going to take a little bit of that parsley. And I kind of like to put this also kind of like over here on the side. Just like that, just to kind of give a little rustic appeal on the plate. And then there you have it, Jane, is our delicious beef Wellington with our roasted red potatoes and our delicious sauteed green beans. But we're missing something.
We are.
We are missing
We're not done.
one thing. We're not done just yet. What we're missing is that delicious reduction.
Oh my, look at that sauce.
Oh, thank you. So we have just a little bit of that reduction. What I like to do is I just like to take that sauce and just put a little bit of that sauce on the side, just enough that you can actually taste that sauce.
Sure.
Anytime that you're adding a sauce onto any particular dish, you don't want to overpower that dish with that sauce. It's just enough sauce just to kind of cleanse your palate, just to give you a little bit of taste of the residual flavors in that dish.
And not to cover up the beautiful work you've done there.
Exactly. Thank you.
It's great. Now for
Thank
this
you so
recipe
much.
and to watch the shows, you can always go to luzerne.edu/cooking classic. Chef Kim, magnificent.
Thank you
and
so
it is
much,
very
Jane. Thank
special, a very special dish for a special occasion. So can't wait to
you.
try it.
Thank you so much.
All right. We'll see you next time right back here on Cooking Classic.